Right, that's you all viewers. Happy New Year to you all. Welcome to this edition of the news. We begin right away with our major stories. On a sad note, at least 3 persons lost their lives during New Year celebrations in Bonamusade locality in the Douala 5 municipality. We'll be telling you what happened on New Year's Day, which led to the death of 3 persons in this edition of the news. And also in this edition, we'll be coming back to some major announcements which were made by President Paul Biya during his end-of-year address to the nation. Plus, President Maurice Kamto of the CRM political party, who also in his own end-of-year address castigated some corrupt officials of Cameroon who are impoverishing Cameroonians the more, according to Professor Maurice Kamto. We will be coming back to all of those announcements in this edition of the news, so stay with us. Welcome back, viewers. We just told you in the headlines that President Paul Biya in his end-of-year address made some major announcements to Cameroonians, among them the development of the mining sector in the country, revamping of the National Hydroelectrical Dam, and also the provision of potable water to Cameroonians. Let's now come back to those major announcements made by President Paul Biya during his end-of-year speech with our staff man, Innocent Aze.
In his end-of-year speech, President Paul Biya announced to the nation his stamped authorization on the implementation of 3 large-scale projects which aim at developing Cameroon's mining potential, structuring of the economy, and creating jobs. Through these, state revenue sources will be diversified.
The year 2023 will be marked by the commencement of the exploitation of the Kribi-Lobe iron ore. The project includes the construction of an iron enrichment plant, an approximately 20-kilometer long pipeline, and a 60-megawatt power plant. We will also start exploiting the Nabeba iron deposit. The expected benefits for our country are immense. The third project concerns the exploitation of the Bipindi Grand Zambi iron ore with the development of an iron and steel complex for the local processing of iron.
In the energy sector, President Paul Biya promised to make things much more better for Cameroonians in 2023 with the commissioning of Phase 1 of the National Hydropower Dam and the start of work to connect the South and North interconnected grids.
Efforts to scale up energy supply quality and quantity will be intensified through the construction of new energy infrastructure and solar energy development, particularly in the northern part of our country.
The head of state also instructs the government to urgently finalize procedures for the launching in 2023 of the mega project to supply drinking water.
Access to safe drinking water for our population is one of my main concerns, to provide a lasting solution to the city's water supply shortages.
Construction work will also have to resume on the Babaju Bamenda, Kumba Ekondotiti and Mora Dabanga Kuseri road sections in 2023.
These efforts will be continued in 2023 with the construction of about 700 kilometers of road, including the asphalting of the Ebolova Akom to Kribi stretch, the launching of construction work on the urban section of the Yaoundé-Nsimaleng motorway, and the acceleration of work on the Douala-Yaoundé motorway, the rehabilitation and modernization of the Tiko, Bertoa and Kribi airports will also be prioritized to ensure that all regions of our country are served by air transport.
Implementation of a plan for the reconstruction of the Far North region has been ordered by him. The plans include the construction of water impounding and socio-economic facilities. On the political front, the senatorial election will be held this year, with the fight against corruption stepped up. The head of state, on his part, pledged to continue doing everything possible to ensure the progress of the nation.
And now in this other report which comes up next, a reporter for me, Armstrong Sander, comes back to the economic aspect of President Paul Biya's end-of-year address to the nation. It includes the construction of the Babaju-Bamenda Highway and also the Kumba-Ekondo City-Mundemba route stretch. Let's now come back to the economic aspect of President Paul Biya's speech in this report.
Despite its natural abundance, mineral resources constitute just 1% of the GDP of Cameroon, an abnormality which experts blame on the political will and the underdevelopment of the exploitation sector. Addressing the issue in his end-of-year message, President Paul Biya announced a large-scale exploitation and mining in 2023. The Kribi-Lobe iron ore exploitation consists of the construction of an iron and steel production unit, the construction of a 20 kilometers pipeline, and a 60 kilowatt power plant for energy. This contract to exploit was concluded with a Chinese mining company Sinosteel in 2022, though contested by locals. The contract, to run for 50 years, states that the state of Cameroon will receive some 23 billion francs CFA annually and some 500 billion francs CFA after every 5 years. Beside this project, President Paul Biya also spoke of the exploitation of the iron ore deposit of Mbalam Nebiba. The decree to exploit and mining permit here was awarded to a local company, the Cameroon Mining Company, on the 17th of August 2022. Among other benefits from this project is the plans for the construction of a 540 kilometers rail line linking Kribi in Cameroon and Nabiba in neighboring Congo. The Grand Lombardic Iron Ore project, the president says, will also be on in 2023. Away from mining, the president also announced plans to boost air and land transport with major projects.
These efforts will be continued in 2023 with the construction of about 700 kilometers of road, including the asphalting of the Ebolova-Akom to Kribi stretch, to ensure the resumption of construction work on the Morad, Dabanga Kuseri, Babaju, Bamenda, and Kumba-Ekondo Titi road sections.
Set and documented, Cameroonians look forward not to only see this project unfolding, but to feel its positive impact on their daily life.
And now let's have an overview of President Paul Biya's address to the nation. The president, among other issues, mentioned efforts put in place to ensure that peace reigns to the northwest and the southwest regions, as well as the far north region of the country. He also spoke on what the government is doing to boost the health sector in Cameroon. We are coming back to this report by for me, Armstrong Sander, which talks about the overview of President Paul Biya's address to the nation. The president mentioned efforts put in place by the government to ensure that peace returns to the northwest and the southwest regions of the country, which has been in conflict for over 6 years now, and also in the northern regions of Cameroon with Boko Haram insurgency. President Paul Biya also spoke on the efforts put in place by the government to boost the health sector in the country.
Though a greater part of the presidential speech was dedicated to a retrospective analysis of 2022, the major announcement for 2023 came within the road infrastructural network.
These efforts will be continued in 2023 with the construction of about 700 kilometers of road, including the asphalting of the Ebolova-Akom to Kribi stretch.
President Paul Biya, among others, particularly addressed the Bamenda Babaju and the Kumba-Ekondo Titi stretches of roads.
To ensure the resumption of construction work on the Morad, Dabanga Kuseri, Babaju, Bamenda, and Kumba-Ekondo Titi road sections.
On the security domain, the president applauded the army for bringing the conflict in the far north, the northwest, and southwest regions under control.
Thanks to the Army-Nation link, collaboration between our defense forces and the population has contributed to reducing significantly the terrorist threat in the far north, northwest, and southwest regions.
President Paul Biya continued on the lane to salute the United States of America for collaborating to end the armed conflict in the Anglophone regions.
And particularly the United States of America for its decisive action in prosecuting those who help to finance terrorist activities in Cameroon from abroad.
Out of the armed conflict in the northwest, the southwest, and the far north region, President Paul Biya also addressed insecurity and the microbes phenomenon in the city of Douala, blaming parents for the bad upbringing of their children. With regards to the high cost of living and fears of a more difficult 2023, President Paul Biya said the tides follow a prediction from international monetary institutions.
I am prompted by the dire consequences of the war on the economies of countries, particularly developing countries, and the suffering inflicted on innocent civilian populations.
While assuring that the city of Douala, the city of Bamenda, Betua, and others will have their water crisis squarely dealt with, President Paul Biya also dwelled on the valorization of Made in Cameroon and the senatorial election expected in 2023.
And now 2 opposition leaders in Cameroon have called on Cameroonians to get ready to vote out the regime which has been in power for the past 40 years in a bid to change the socio-economic situation of the country. Professor Maurice Kamto and Cabral Libi were speaking during their own end-of-year address to the nation that was on December 31. Let's now have more with Staffman Babila Jonathan.
Cameroonian opposition leaders present a disturbing picture of socio-economic challenges that further complicate the already difficult living conditions of citizens, especially the poor and low-income earners, most of them living below the poverty line. According to Cameroon Renaissance Movement CRM National President Professor Maurice Kamto and Cabral Libi of the Cameroon Party for National Reconciliation, bad governance in 2022 increased hardship and misery in the country. Professor Kamto highlights the consequences of the high debt of the state, which is today equivalent to 44% of the gross domestic product of Cameroon.
Ce n'est pas ce taux en lui-même qui est inquiétant.
What is disturbing is not actually the debt rate, but the fact that it is a toxic debt. Cost of living has become unbearable for many of our compatriots, with high inflation, increase of prices of all products, leading to high cost of living violently felt by particularly the poor. In a country where minimum wage is less than 37,000 francs yearly, whereas it is at 75,000 francs yearly in other African countries at the same level with Cameroon.
Dans des pays africains de niveau comparable.
Il a décidé pernicieusement, entre autres, d'augmenter le timbre fiscal de 50%.
Cabral Libi condemns the decision to increase taxes by 50 and 100%. He says this is not the solution to the socio-economic challenges those governing the country for over 4 decades have orchestrated. To him, the intention is to render the poor poorer and the rich, notably those in power, richer, in a bid to maintain their grip on power.
Nous devons leur prouver le contraire.
To turn the tide, Professor Kamto and Cabral Libi are urging Cameroonians to register massively on electoral registers in view of changing the leadership of the country through the ballot box during upcoming elections.
And now we take you to the Mongo division of the Littoral region, where the local population of Lum came out massively to decry the high cost of living in the country that was on December 31. They say the situation continues as such they might not be able to feed their families in the year 2023. Let's now have more with Mala Glory.
This is a local market in the town of Lum, Mongo division of the Littoral region. Traders here are specialized in the sale of farm produce. Due to the hike in the prices of basic commodities, consumers now turn to scramble alongside retailers in order to have the products at cheaper rate. According to the inhabitants, the increase in the prices of foodstuff in the market is due to the bad state of farm-to-market route.
2022 was a very difficult year for Cameroonians, for all Cameroonians, because it was not easy to eat. The food crops that we harvest in the farm, in our local farms, have become very expensive. Expensive in the sense that, one, there is no good road to the farm. Two, the government don't want to assist the farmers.
First of all, I was paying me 85,000, now it's 87,000. Everything have gone higher and higher. I don't know why.
The hike in the prices of basic commodities, which has led to the high cost of living and the rising unemployment, were major factors that affected the population of Lum in 2022.
If it doesn't employ the youths, it will be worse at this 2023. Government want that this country should change. It should try to drop down the prices of all the goods. But if the prices are going higher and higher, it will be worse. It will bring another problem because the unemployed youths will go into armed robbery to eat. And when they go into armed robbery, no living Cameroonian will sleep.
As the inhabitants of Lum celebrate the end of year festivity, they pray for 2023 to be a better year and call on the authorities to intervene by subsidizing farmers who are the breadbasket of the country.
We told you in the headlines, viewers, that at least 4 persons died, that was on New Year's Day, following a stampede which occurred here in the economic capital, Douala, and our reporters visited the family of 17-year-old Daniel, who is one of the victims who died in that stampede. Let's now have the details with Immaculate Fope.
The residence of 17-year-old Wamini Daniel, a Form 4 student of Government Bilingual High School Bipanda in the Douala 5 subdivision, filled with some classmates, neighbors and family members who came to sympathize with her parents. Daniel is among the 4 children who died in the stampede that occurred at the Marseille College in Bonamusadi, Douala 5 subdivision. Other dead victims are Monjo Frieder, 16-year-old Menye Michel, a student of Government Bilingual High School Deido. Meanwhile, the last corpse is still unidentified. The brother of Marcel recounts the circumstances that led to her death. I and my sister went to have fun at the club. While we were in the hall, we could get people fighting outside. This is because some of the children who denied paying the gate fee were denied access into the hall. One of the thugs sneaked into the hall at about 5 a.m. Then he started shouting, "Microbe." Everyone started running helter-skelter out of the gate, and that resulted to a stampede. Due to the stampede, several children got injured with others almost suffocating to death. Bruises were equally visible on some body parts of Daniel's brother. He says the bite on his lap was meant to resuscitate him, given that he was convulsing. The mother of Daniel has been inconsolable from the news of her daughter's death. At about 5 a.m. while I was asleep, I heard lots of noise outside. I woke up from bed and rushed outside. I was informed that there was a fight at Marseille, so I rushed to the school. I saw several children coughing with others severely injured. I asked about the whereabouts of my daughter, but no one had an idea. I later received a call and I was told my child is in the hospital. I rushed to the hospital and I found out that my child was dead. Equinoxe TV team was denied access into the school premises where the incident occurred. Visiting the site, the divisional officer of Dwello 5 subdivision, accompanied by the senior divisional officer of Wuri, urged parents to be calm while promising the parents that investigations will be carried out to shed more light on the matter.
Sad indeed, and our condolences to the bereaved families. And now we talk something else. Traditional epaulets took place across the national territory. That was on January 1. The event is to recognize officers who diligently carried out their duties. Let's now have how the event went on in Kutaba, in Gaundere, and also in Douala with our reporter Smart Jikan Gabriel.
In Douala, the traditional awards of epaulets took place at the Esplanade of the second joint military region of the Littoral region. The event, that was void of speech-making, was presided at by the governor of the region, Samuel Jodoneiva Dibois. Amongst the recipients were 87 officers, 135 sub-officers, and 81 military officers.
A sentiment of joy, satisfaction, having taken up this rank.
In Gaundere, 189 officers were recipients of epaulets during the award ceremony that took place at the 5th military sector of Adamawa region. The officers were appreciated for their actions on the field. The event was supervised by the governor, Kildadi Tagweke Buka.
I want just to congratulate them for their brilliant promotion, and I think this ceremony is a concrete example that population and army are doing good job to secure our country, to secure particularly Adamawa region. You know that together with the population, the forces of law and order, and the other stakeholders, we have cut down the phenomenon of hostage taking.
In the West region, precisely in Kutaba, it was at the military camp that the epaulets award ceremony took place. The event saw the promotion of the head of the military base in Kutaba, Lieutenant Colonel Song Sesh Eme, who was raised to a full-grade colonel, alongside Lieutenant Colonel Azize Njoya Yakuba, head of the Sub-Officers Training Center, who was raised to a colonel.
And viewers, that was what we put together for you on the news this evening on Equinoxe Television. Thank you always for your confidence. Happy New Year to you all, and don't go away. Our programs continue. The news in the French language comes up at 8 p.m. Stay with us on Equinoxe Television. Bye-bye for now.